Under the scorching desert sun, a leopard sprints in slow motion, its eyes locked on a gazelle, dust flying behind its razor-sharp claws. A thunderous bass pulse echoes, each step syncing with a rising heartbeat. But just as the chase peaks, a haunting question cuts through the tension. What if this leopard wasn't the biggest threat out here today? Suddenly, a massive Bengal tiger lies helpless, pinned beneath a fallen tree, letting out a weak, rumbling roar. Beside her, a tiny cub pulls desperately at the trunk with trembling paws. A rescue team races across the desert, axes in hand, urgency in their eyes. Stay till the end to see how a baby's desperate cry changed everything. Hi, I'm Your Name, and today you're about to witness one of the most powerful and emotional rescues we've ever captured. Let's dive into this unbelievable rescue. Soaring over a scorching desert that seems to stretch endlessly in every direction. It's a place where the earth glows red beneath a merciless sun, and wind carries nothing but dust and silence. Monument valleys, towering buttes, and mesas rise like ancient sculptures carved by time and heat, watching over the harsh land below. Heat waves shimmer in the distance, painting illusions in the air. The wind whistles low, stirring golden dust into the sky like ghosts dancing across the dry earth. In the middle of this brutal beauty, a single dirt road cuts through the landscape like a forgotten trail, and on that road something is wrong. Lying across the hot, cracked surface is a Bengal tiger, majestic even in pain. Her breathing is shallow, her eyes half closed. A massive tree trunk lies across her body, pinning her down at the hips. The bark is thick and dry, clearly split from age or lightning, maybe even weakened by heat. Whatever brought it down, it landed heavy, and she didn't have a chance to escape. Her chest rises slowly. Dust clings to her striped fur. She's not struggling anymore, just conserving what little energy she has left. But her eyes, they tell a different story. They're wide open. She's not giving up. Beside her, barely the size of her leg, is her cub. He's a tiny thing, round face, oversized paws, eyes full of panic and determination. He paces back and forth, crying out in soft, high-pitched whimpers. He tugs at the thick branches with his teeth. He paws at the edges of the trunk, trying to dig under it with his claws. He climbs up on her side, nudges her face, looks around as if searching for someone, anyone. Then he tries again, pushing against the bark with all his weight. It doesn't move. He falls backward into the dust, lets out a frustrated little cry, and gets back up. The mother tiger lets out a deep, rumbling breath, not a roar, but more like a low, tired purr. She lifts her head slightly, just enough to nudge her cub gently with her nose, then rests it back on the ground. It's all she can manage. The cub presses into her, curls up next to her cheek, and closes his eyes for a moment. But not for long. He's up again, trying again. He won't stop. He doesn't know how to stop. She's all he has, and he's all she has left. The desert offers no mercy. The sun blazes down on them. There's no water in sight, no shade, no cover, just the vast emptiness of red rocks and wind. Time stretches. The cub's cries fade into the heat. The tiger's breath slow. The stillness starts to feel permanent. But high on a nearby ridge, a glint of glass catches the light. A ranger, crouched low with binoculars in hand, scans the land. His eyes narrow. Through the lens, he sees them. The tiger, the cub, the fallen tree. He lowers the binoculars slowly, one gloved hand tightening into a fist. His other hand reaches for the radio clipped to his vest. Got visual on a Bengal adult trapped under a trunk. There's a cub. We need to move. Now. The static crackles. A voice replies, "Copy that. Team en route. ETA 10 minutes. Back near the tiger, the cub is digging again. His tiny claws tear at the dry ground, trying to make space under the trunk. His sides heave with each breath. His little body is covered in dust. He stops, only for a moment, panting, and looks up at his mother. She meets his gaze, blinking slowly, as if to say, "Keep going." Then in the distance, the rumble of an engine breaks the silence. A white and green ranger vehicle speeds across the desert, bouncing over rocks, a trail of dust behind it like a comet tail. Inside, the driver, Zion, a senior wildlife rescuer, grips the wheel tight. His partner checks the gear in the back, ropes, a med kit, and a red-handled axe. No one speaks. They've seen enough emergencies to know every second counts. The cub hears it first. He stops digging and looks toward the sound. His ears perk up. He nudges his mother. She doesn't respond, but she hears it too. A soft twitch in her ear, a slow blink. The vehicle skids to a halt not far away. Zion jumps out, his boots hitting the dirt hard. He doesn't rush. He moves with focused urgency. He's done this before, but never with a tiger and her cub alone in the open desert. He steps closer, slowly letting the animals see him. The cub stares, wide-eyed. Then, surprisingly, he doesn't run. He just steps in front of his mother and lets out a tiny growl. Zion stops for a second, moved by the sight. That little guy's guarding her, he mutters, braver than most. He crouches down, hand out, palms open, speaking in a low, calm voice. "It's okay. We're here to help. We've got you." Behind him, his teammate begins prepping tools. The axe gleams in the sun. A drone camera launches quietly into the air to capture the rescue from above. This footage may one day help save more animals in similar situations. Zion moves closer to the trunk, eyes scanning its position, judging where to strike. One wrong move and he could hurt the mother. But leaving it too long, she won't survive. The cub backs up slightly, watching with worried eyes. He doesn't make a sound now. He just watches. Zion lifts the axe, and the screen fades to black. A single word appears. Rescue begins. The silence of the desert is broken by the distant growl of an engine, growing louder with every second. A 4x4 wildlife rescue truck, dust-coated and sun-bleached, charges across the barren land. Its sirens wail briefly, cutting through the dry air like a warning. Inside, Zion sits behind the wheel, eyes sharp, jaw set. He's done this before, 19 times in fact. But something about today feels different. There's a weight in the air that has nothing to do with heat. As the truck jolts over rocks and dips, the radio crackles with updates. Visual confirmed. Tree trunk still in place. Tiger breathing slow. Cub active. Zion nods silently. They're close. The vehicle screeches to a halt just a few meters from the scene. Dust rises like smoke around the tires. Zion throws the door open and jumps out. He's wearing a tan uniform with a desert scarf tucked at his neck. Blue rescue gloves already pulled tight. In one hand, he carries a bright red-handled axe. The sun glints off its steel edge. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. His eyes are already on the tiger. She hasn't moved. Her breathing is even slower than it was before. The trunk looks even heavier up close. But what shakes him most is the cub, still trying, still digging, still pushing against a tree 10 times his size. When he sees Zion, he freezes, ears twitching. He lets out a soft, confused cry. He's scared, but he doesn't run. Zion approaches slowly, kneeling a few feet away. "Easy. I'm here to help your mom," he whispers gently. His voice is low and steady, like a heartbeat. The cub stares, and then, as if he understands, he steps aside, not far, but just enough. Zion steps in and sizes up the trunk. It's splintered and sun-dried, but massive. Cracks run through its middle like veins, and the base is buried deep in the ground. He places one hand on the bark, the other gripping the axe tightly. His teammate behind him calls out, "We've got med gear ready if she's freed," but she's fading fast. Zion doesn't waste time. He lifts the axe and slams it down with a sharp crack. Wood chips fly. Dust puffs up into the air. The tiger flinches but doesn't roar. She doesn't have the strength. The cub cries out, a tiny sound full of panic, and tries to step forward. Zion's partner holds him back gently. "Not yet, little guy." Each strike is harder than the last. Sweat beads on Zion's face, dripping down into the dirt. His gloves turn dark with grime. The axe cuts deeper, but the trunk is stubborn. It creaks and groans but doesn't give in. Zion adjusts his stance and hits again. Crack. The desert echoes with the sound of effort. Behind him, the sun is beginning to lower just slightly in the sky. The shadows stretch longer. A slight breeze stirs the sand. Then suddenly the mother tiger lets out a sound. Not a roar, a low, strained moan. Her paw twitches, her eyes open wider. Zion pauses, leaning in, trying to read the change. "She's slipping," his teammate says urgently. But before he can respond, Zion's body goes rigid. A sound, distant, low, and deadly, rumbles across the canyon wall. A growl, not from the tiger, something else. Zion looks up quickly, turning toward the rocks. His partner does the same. The cub stares too, ears pinned back now, tail low. Another growl, closer this time. Zion narrows his eyes. A leopard, sleek, hungry, and watching from the top of a nearby ridge. It had caught their scent. Leopards rarely attack humans, but they're unpredictable, especially in dry season when food is scarce. And worse, this one isn't backing off. It stands tall, tail flicking slowly, eyes locked on the cub. Zion grips the axe tighter. His partner whispers, "We've got to move, fast. You keep chopping, I'll keep watch." The tension is thick now. Every second matters. Zion goes back to work, striking harder, faster. The blows echo like thunder in the canyon. The wood begins to splinter more easily now. The cub huddles close to his mother again, burying his face in her fur. She's still breathing, but just barely. Her sides barely move now. The leopard shifts forward a step. Zion hears it, but he doesn't stop. He strikes again. Splinters fly. The crack in the trunk is widening. The leopard growls again. But Zion shouts back. Loud and sharp, a roar of his own, "Back off!" The animal flinches slightly, hesitates, then slowly begins to retreat, perhaps realizing this fight wasn't worth the trouble. But Zion doesn't take his eyes off the trunk. He can't afford to. His axe slams down one more time, then another. Finally, with a deep, echoing snap, the trunk begins to shift. The weight slides off the tiger's back slowly. Dust pours out from underneath. Zion and his partner leap into action, pulling away chunks of wood, clearing space for her to move. They check her body, bruised, scraped, but no visible broken bones. She lets out a deep gasp, her lungs pulling in air again with more force. Zion steps back, breathless. His arms hang heavy by his side, the axe now coated in wood chips and sweat. The cub moves first, sniffing the spot where the tree was, then nudging his mother gently. She lifts her head. Slowly, painfully, she shifts her legs beneath her. Her claws dig into the sand. With a final effort, she rises. She's shaky, but standing. The moment is quiet. Zion lowers his head, closes his eyes for a second, just letting the tension melt away. His teammate claps a hand on his shoulder. "She's alive," he whispers. The mother tiger nuzzles her cub, pressing her face into his small body. He responds with excited licks and tiny purrs, bouncing around her legs. Together they take a few unsteady steps forward. Zion watches them go, silent, awed. But in his mind, one thought stays sharp. This rescue wasn't just about strength. It was a battle against the wild itself. And for once we won. The desert held its breath. The final blow from Zion's axe struck true, sinking deep into the heart of the thick trunk. A sharp, cracking sound echoed through the canyon as the dry wood finally gave way. With a thundering snap, the massive tree trunk split, falling apart into two jagged halves. A cloud of dust burst into the air, swallowing everything in a golden fog. Zion dropped the axe and stepped back, gasping for breath. His arms were shaking, not just from effort, but from the weight of the moment. The sound of the axe hitting the dirt was drowned out by silence. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, something did. The tiger lifted her head, slowly, painfully. Her muscles trembled. Her paw twitched. Her breathing, though still shallow, grew stronger with each second. Her wide eyes scanned the figures around her, not with fear, but with quiet understanding. She was free, and she was alive. The cub, who had waited nearby through every moment, let out a high-pitched cry of joy. He raced to her side, leaping into her face with small, excited licks. She turned toward him, pressing her massive head into his body. Her eyes closed for just a second, her whiskers brushing against his tiny ones. That moment, gentle and pure, was more powerful than 1,000 words. It was a silent thank you, a connection unbroken by pain, danger, or fear. The rescue team didn't speak. They just stood back in awe. Zion wiped his face with the back of his glove, eyes locked on the two. He had seen rescues before, lions, elephants, rhinos. But this was different. This was personal. The cub's resilience, the mother's quiet strength, the timing, the odds. Everything about this felt like it wasn't just a rescue, it was a reminder. The tiger shifted her weight slowly, trying to rise. Her hind legs wobbled, her shoulders shook. For a second it looked like she might fall, but then with a quiet grunt she stood, tall, wounded, but proud, a mother refusing to stay down. The cub bounced around her legs, nuzzling her side. He kept looking back at the humans, unsure what to think, grateful, maybe, in his own little way. Or perhaps just too young to understand what had really just happened. Zion took one careful step forward, then stopped. He knew when to stay back. This was their moment now. The two tigers turned side by side and began walking slowly into the open desert. Their silhouettes cast long shadows against the dust as the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in soft shades of orange and gold. Every step was a small miracle. Every breath was earned. As the wind stirred again, kicking up a light cloud of sand behind them, it felt as if nature itself had paused to witness their journey. And then the voice returned. Not loud, not proud, but quiet and full of wonder she stood, weak but alive, because her cub never gave up on her, and neither did Zion. The camera pulled back, farther and farther, until the two tiger figures became smaller and smaller, swallowed by the wild. But their presence lingered. Their bond hung heavy in the air. In a world so wild, the voice continued, soft and certain. Even the tiniest voice can move mountains. A slow, uplifting melody filled the space, hopeful and warm, the kind of tune that makes your heart ache a little in the best way. The screen gently faded to the image of Zion watching the horizon, hands on his hips, eyes still following the path of the animals as they disappeared behind the dunes. Behind him, the rescue truck stood ready, but no one rushed to leave. For once, time could slow down. Then came the closing words. An invitation more than a message. If this rescue moved you like it moved us, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real wildlife stories, because somewhere out there, another voice needs to be heard. Dear friend, thank you for watching. Leave a comment below and tell us how this touched your heart. Subscribe to our channel, Tales of Paws and People, to help us spread more stories of grace, healing, and hope. And may God bless every soul watching this. May you find warmth in the storm and light in the silence.